Why are we?
Oh, Hello, and welcome back to the third installment of the Command Protocols podcast. Today, we will be talking about Nottingham Super Major, the lists that we played into, the opponents, sorry, I should say the lists that we looked at before on the last episode, um, and then we're going to do some lists in some other well-performing GTs, and then a tier list at the end. So how have you been, Andy, since the last episode?
Fantastic, thank you. Had
Amazing.
good fun at Nottingham.
Mm.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
It was very fun. I had a very good time.
Yes, you
So,
did.
as you can see by our names, it might be a bit of a giveaway for how the tournament went. But we'll crack straight into it. So, the first thing we're going to be looking at is
The results, right?
the results, and boom, look who's in the spotlight. Not to spoil anything, but I went undefeated, and we're looking at all of the Necron lists, all the 4-1 lists, and then a couple of the lists that we mentioned earlier. So the first list we're going to be looking at is Colin Nichols, who was my first round opponent, and it was the only list that was playing Hypercrypt.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Andy after the last podcast, if I could have handpicked a list to play against, this was the one. And just as a reminder, he was playing triple
Three.
Catan and 60 warriors.
And yeah, that's all she wrote. Triple
That's
Catans.
what-
60 were. Don't forget the squad of immortals.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, they did
And
kill 2 Scorpaths.
nice. Nice.
It was a
Yeah.
good time. Yeah,
Uh,
he ended up going 1-4. Um, So we were surprised when we saw he got 100 in his third game. So and his 2 scores afterwards were better than the score against me. So he's clearly learning.
yeah, your game lasted about an hour. I seem to remember you coming over with a big grin on your face. And I'm just like, what? You really just started playing.
Yeah, we started early and we certainly finished early. So he was such a nice guy. He has a his own Warhammer um his own Warhammer channel on YouTube. He showed me. I'm really sorry, but I can't remember the name. But shout out to you, Colin. You were super nice, really nice, and yeah, just really nice dude. So then the next list we'll go on to. Let's have a look.
My friend Paul with his 30
Um,
Lich Guard. I think, right?
so what was in that list again?
30 Lich Guard, mate.
Just oh yeah, it's exactly 30 Lich Guard,
30
30
Lich
Lich
Guard and 2 Catans.
and 2 DDAs.
Hmm?
How did Paul do? Do you know? Can you remember?
I believe he went 3 and 2. Um,
Yes, he did go 3-2. That's correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I believe he did not finish above me. One of the few.
No, he didn't. He didn't finish above you. You nailed him with that one.
Yeah.
The maybe I'm assuming that the Lich Guard weren't as tanky as he was hoping, um, but it was a very interesting list to see, and I'm glad that he at least went positive with it. I heard he had quite a close game in his third round, so could have pushed him a bit further potentially later on.
Yeah.
Then in the next one,
We had our Awakened Dynasty list.
yes, the Awakened Dynasty. He went to
3 and 2 as well.
3-2 as well. So a lot
Yeah.
of 60% win rates for the Necrons.
Hmm.
I think his list was having trouble scoring, from what I remember. Looking at the scores, he has quite a few low scores really. 85, 66 wins and then 60 loss.
Yeah.
He got 75 loss, but yeah, props to him for taking Awakened and going positive. Yes, and then I messed that up.
Okay. Well,
Okay, we're back. Okay, who's this list now that we're looking at? I'm looking at my list apparently. I accidentally closed the the tab. Okay,
Okay.
we'll go to here. We got Ewan. I met Ewan at the end of the day two. He was the only other Necron player, I think, undefeated going into round five.
Yep.
Um, yeah, young lad, really nice guy. We
First
briefly
first super major.
really wow.
Yes.
Yeah, he done really well then. He's got obviously a very classic list. Apart from he's running wraiths and a stalker, whereas Andy and I chose not to do that
Yeah.
for reasons I will go on to later on when we
His
talk
only
about ours.
his only loss was to Inns in the last round, which
Yeah, yeah.
can happen to everybody.
And I heard Innes say to him over my shoulder, "I'm really sorry, but I need to get as many points as possible." And then I looked over, and Ewan had pulled his Technomancer off the board as it had been killed, and I saw about 4 units of Marines on his expansion objective. So it is a very tough game, I think, with melee pressure into us Necrons. But well done to Ewan for going 4-1.
Very good.
And then the next one is Mark Cromalone, who we all know and love. He went, I believe, yeah, 4-1 as
Yep.
well. His only loss was Death Guard. Apparently, a squad of Plague Marines killed 5 Wraiths, I believe, in one round of combat, which is quite unfortunate when they're meant to be a durable unit.
It can happen,
But
yeah.
yes, yeah. He seemed to make the rerolls worth it, though. The no rerolls work, I should say. But it is what it is. What do you think about his list at all going after the game?
I still feel the same that he needs the rerolls somewhere. Obviously, 4-1 is better than I achieved with my rubbish list, but um,
Yeah, only if you had a hex mark, could have been different.
could have been,
Could imagine if it was only the hex mark.
could have been, yes.
But yeah, well done to Mark.
Yep.
And then the next one we're flying through.
James Holland.
James Holland. He was another 4-1. That's why I've put him in here. He's been running the Nightbringer, 2 Locust Lords though, so I think he was the only person to run 2.
Yeah, with a
Silent
lot of
King.
destroyers as well.
Yeah, he had the most destroyers, but another guy that was running Ophidians, and I don't like Ophidians that
Is
much.
isn't
So
it weird that we have a destroyer detachment and we play destroyers not in that detachment?
yeah, we play them almost in any other detachment except that detachment,
Yeah,
unless your name is Josie.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm just not a fan of Ophidians. I've said a few times they're just not. And I thought they had bigger bases until I was corrected yesterday. So fair enough. Yeah, they are on the same bases as Scorpefs. But and okay, so
That's
now,
still pretty big.
oh yeah, it is quite big for an uppy down unit. So now we're on to the real beef. So this is my list. I'm sure you've seen it on the last week, but we'll quickly go over it again. So it's a hex mark with the fall back and shoot. It's a locust lord with the ignores cover. Scorpeth lord -1 damage. Silent King, Reanimator, 3 DDAs, 2 lots of flayed ones, 2 single destroyers, 2 single Gauss destroyers, 3 emitics, 2 Scorpeths. Very simple.
Yeah, you weren't a fan of this list when I told you to play it, were you?
I've never been so wrong. Uh, I really didn't think it was my style because I'd just been practicing with the Wraiths and the Barge so much, and then it was totally my style. It reminded me a lot of the hypercrypt French hypercrypt list with the Scorpefs and all that. I just love Scorpefs. They did pull their weight quite a bit in
Hmm.
in my games. So yeah, I'll just run through my games uh, super quick for you guys. So, first round, I was into Colin, as I mentioned, with his Hypercrypt list on Terraform. He deployed 3 Catan in the open, but he had the Deceiver to redeploy them. I deployed 3 DDAs more or less looking at them. He redeployed them, but made the fatal mistake of redeploying them somewhere where I could see them with more guns.
Hmm.
So it just ended very quickly. I killed nearly everything. Uh, and that's why and we started early, so the game was over in about 45 minutes. Um, yeah, it was not a good pairing for him.
Fair enough.
Yeah, yeah. But game two, I was in to the brother of somebody, and I'm sorry I've forgotten your name, but the brother of is Morgan. His name is Morgan, and I played his brother at a GT a couple of months ago, and he was playing Tyranids. His Tyranids won Best Painted at the event. It was so nice. And he was playing uh, Vanguard, but with not very many Vanguard units. And I kind of moved out a bit. He shot his Tyrannofex into a DDA. It didn't die, and then I killed most of his army except a Tyrannofex and another Norn. And then that Tyrannofex didn't do any damage because I passed both my saves, and that was that game as well. Game three was against Guard, against James, who I've never beaten at a tournament. I always seem to play him at a tournament, and he was playing triple Hydra Guard. And if you don't know what they do, they have anti-fly two up. So very, very awkward for us. But the
Hmm.
Silent King doesn't fly, as me and Andy found out
Yeah.
a couple of months ago. And I just sent him out, killed his tanks, moved away. So I ended the first day undefeated. And I'll quickly go to you, Andy. How was your first day?
Well, can I just say first how stupid it is that the Silent King does not fly? I mean, he literally flies. You look at his model, he's flying. There's no legs. It's just hovering in the sky. He flew in ninth edition. At what point did somebody think, this guy doesn't look like he flies? So let's miracle of science. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that lightning isn't actually lightning; they're just rods
Yeah,
holding him to the ground.
yeah.
So
So yeah,
yeah,
so my day one was not quite as easy or as successful as yours. Round one, I played into Death Guard, which I've played Death Guard a lot. I have a lot of friends who play Death Guard. I feel comfortable in the matchup. I felt control the whole game, but I just couldn't score secondaries. I maxed my primary, and I only scored 26 out of 40 secondaries. And that is a theme that is going to follow me around for the rest of this tournament. I don't know why. I just couldn't draw the right ones at the right time. Um, so I won that one. Okay. Round two, I got partnered into Jack Tight on New Orcs. So I was a little deflated. That is not an easy round two game to play, um, especially against Orcs, which I haven't got the most practice into and haven't even looked at the new detachment. So we had to go through quite a bit at the start of the game. He he did what I expected. He kind of basically charged me with all of his army and shot me with all of his army, and I managed to survive long enough to pull through a win. But secondaries are again a little bit more tricky for me, especially when I was kind of pending a little bit. But I managed to win that one as well. So I thought this is going pretty well. You know, we've had two games that haven't gone perfectly, but I've
mm,
got two wins, so I'll take it. Round three into GSC again, the new detachment. Not even looked at that one. I first thought he'd put a mistake on his list because I saw Gargoyles, Lictors. I thought, this is Tyranids. This is Tyranids. Went back and had
yes,
a
you
look.
did,
I was
didn't
like,
you?
no, he did actually say GSC. And then I looked again, and there were all the GSC. So, yeah, it just shows how much attention I've been paying. And throughout the entire game, I just felt in control. Everything was going my way. I just didn't score secondaries. Again, I out primaried him, but not enough, and I lost by 3 points. And yeah, it wasn't a great game for me. That was my day one, really. 2-1. Disappointed to lose the third game, but it happens.
Mm, yeah, when it's that close and you lose, it's a bit
Yeah.
disheartening sometimes, especially if it can be cards.
I mean, I'm
Um,
not going to blame dice rolls for it, but he had to make a 9-inch charge and rolled an 11 at the end, which made me sad because I cannot make 9-inch charges.
no, I can't either. I
No.
don't play armies like that. Grey Knights never worked out.
But I mean, that was down to my own bad play. I could have been a lot more aggressive in the game to stand on points a lot more with more of my army and be like, well, you're going to come out and trade and take me off some of it. But I should have done that a lot sooner, 2 turns before, and would have been a
Hmm.
much easier game. But I played it a bit more cagey, kept all my stuff alive, but I mean, it didn't help me in the end.
Hmm. So your day one, you were 2-1. My
Hmm.
day one, I was 3-0. And yeah, I did have two of the easier games at the beginning, but the third one was slightly more difficult, just because of the matchup and the player.
Mm.
And then going into day two, I get paired. We had curry that night, really
Yes.
nice curry. That was an awesome curry. So the Glasshammer guys joined up with the Stonehammer guys, and we had a really nice curry. I didn't book a hotel before the event, so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna just drive home to where my mum lives," and I couldn't be bothered. It was just getting later and later, so I ended up getting a room by myself, and it was just a single bed in a very small room, but it was warm, so did the
Well,
trick.
definitely better than the Airbnb that we had, which was comically bad. It was so bad. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I was just laying there laughing at how bad it was. I was laying a hole which was my meant to be my bed. Um, yeah, it was terrible. And that's what I'm going to blame my day two performance on was that bed. So James, you booked
Mhm.
a really bad Airbnb there.
So
So
game four, I'm into Chaos Knights and it's Burden, and I've played in Chaos Knights quite a few times, and I don't really win. And with Hypercrypt, I've not really won that many times. But I don't know if it's just my boogeyman or I misplay it, but I just always seem to lose. So I was going into it with the same kind of mindset, but then I spoke to a couple of people and they were like, "Well, you're Starshatter now. You can actually kill the knights way more efficiently, and you've got more guns."
mm,
I was like, oh yeah, that's actually kind of true. Um, so and the obviously the first turn roll off is so important. Need
um,
well, you don't need, but going second is so much better than going first. But whoever scores any primary on Burden because you don't get any for your home, and unless you're a person. Oh, did we just
well,
disconnect?
there goes Matthew.
Did we disconnect?
You disappeared. Yes.
Hello, where did I go? Which point?
You were burdened by the truth of how bad of a mission
Oh yeah,
Burden of
okay,
Burden is.
okay.
And why we still play, I have no idea.
Yeah, I hopefully
It's
they change that.
it's the most polarizing mission that we play. If you play into somebody of similar level of you, then you can easily just end up with a very low score because you can deny each other primary so
Mm,
easily. But then if you get an easy game, then you can just max it out because they don't really know what they're
yeah,
doing, and that can have a big difference on the end result of a tournament, especially one like this where they're going to
yeah,
have so many
definitely.
undefeated players. So
Yeah. So what ended up happening was I got second turn. I denied him primary every turn. He denied me primary every turn, except one turn where I rapid ingressed my hex mark and it got me primary. Such a good unit. And
yeah, I know it is.
I know. And yeah, and it was literally just a kill. He kills me off an objective, I kill him off an objective, and then I scored at the bottom of the turn, and I just did more secondaries. But it was a really close game. Another really, really nice opponent. Honestly, this GT was probably the best in terms of like sportsmanship for my opponents. Every single person I played against was really, really nice to play it against, and I never had any issues at all. Um, and then round five was against Dead Red Wargaming. I'm really sorry, Mark, Greg. I don't know your team name. But his name was Charles Gould. I apologize, Charles, if I've mispronounced your surname. And he was playing Vanguard Ultramarines. And so going into it, I've played against it before, but I've played against it a lot on Search and Destroy. I know where to block him, I know how to stop him shooting me, but his list was Eradicators with Calgar, so really with the Blade Ridden Deep, which is infiltrate, so like really fast moving anti tank. Um, and the Centurions will always get the first hit on my DDAs. Um, he got second turn on Scorch, and if anybody that doesn't know, well, we mentioned it last week that the L's have been inverted on Crucible of Battle, so it's a lot easier to hold your expansion objective. But Charles made quite a important mistake, I think, that he didn't deploy the Eradicator brick on his expansion. So I could measure where my DDA could sit and not be shot by too many things, and then like move up a bit, screen him with the score paths that I kind of like deployed in front, and then the next turn like move on to the objective and shoot whatever's on there and try and take him off it. And it was all going to plan because I miracle rolled a 6 on number of shots, but then only 3 went through, so I didn't kill enough on the primary. And if I got put into a 5 then even though I'd probably lose my DDA to the Centurions, I was always going to rapid ingress another and then do it again to put him down to a, basically 2 5s where I'm always getting 10s. So I'm just going to win by default as long as my cards are still good. Um, but it didn't work. He brought his Centurions in, and then this was his other big mistake: was I rapid ingressed second DDA to line up into those Centurions, and instead of just shooting the Oath DDA, he split fire, and he did no damage to the Oath one, and like 10 wounds to the not Oath one. And maybe if it was Oathed, then if you did, I think it would have definitely died. Usually, it should always die. But yeah, it was just unfortunate, really. And basically, long story short, it was a bit of a slogfest afterwards, and I ended up winning by a single point. And that was the best game of the weekend for me. Really, really nice game.
Split firing's risky, but when it works, you feel like a god, and when it goes badly, you just feel like the world's about to eat you up.
Yeah, because that was the game losing play for Charles. I think it was his game to lose after I gave away a DDA like that. I moved it onto the objective and I went to the shooting phase and I was about to roll the dice for the number of shots on the DDA and I was like, wait, this is so greedy. I was like, I'm trying to kill 5 guys with a DDA just from the big gun because I needed to split the little gun into the scouts and then indirect with a silent gun. I was like, this is horrible. That's an idea. But if it pays off, then I would probably have won the game then and there because he can't ever deny my 5 primary, my 10, I should say. And then I would be in line then to deny him twice because he had no way of putting stuff onto that objective to uh, stop my other DDA coming in. So it was risky and it would have paid off and it would have gone horribly wrong if he one shot me at the DDA. But yeah, I managed 5-0. Overall, I finished ninth, which is really cool. I've not gone 5-0 at a Super Major before, so really nice feeling.
Yeah,
How
good,
was
good
your?
job.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Good job. You
How
won
was
out. You won
your?
our bets. Nice.
Yes, I did.
My
Now
day
it's so easy
two
to say.
was similar to day one, to be honest. So I got paired into I'd met Skitari Hunter cohort, which if I was playing my normal Hypercrit Tesseract Vault Silent King list, I would feel very happy and comfortable with. They have to come at me more than they want because my indirect can ruin their plans. But obviously, I was playing Starshatter, so had to come up with a new strategy on the fly because this is not a matchup I'd even practiced once. But yeah, it was a very comfortable game. I think I lost my first unit in the fourth round, which was one little destroyer. 35 points I'd lost after 4 turns of the game. And I learned from my game against the GSC. So by turn 4, I had 25 OC on basically every no man's land objective and just sat there going, come and get me. So, yeah, it was a comfortable win. The game was very cagey, but I still struggled with secondaries, just letting me down. I spent most of my CP redrawing cards, just trying to find something I could score. And then the last round, my kind of boogie list, like yours might be Chaos Knights, mine is Invasion Fleet Neds with Terran effects. And
Mm,
I spent 3 turns shooting the same Terran effects to no avail. It still had its blank. It was still on 7 wounds.
hmm
I made some questionable plays. I scored primary fine, but I just didn't get secondaries again. You know, it was a sorry state, a very bad game, and so I finished 3-2.
yeah. It happens. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice. It would have been nice to play back those games again where I lost and just change how I played. Like it, especially that last game, I looked back at it halfway through, thinking I've done some very silly things here that didn't need to be done, and they probably cost me the game. Um, when I deployed some of my units, the units that I used to engage at certain times were questionably chosen. I gave him the shooting to kill both my Omnitic destroyers and my Scorpec destroyers with two different exocrines in the same turn, and I didn't need to. I just could have hit them better. I just didn't think about it.
Hmm.
And then trying to hit him back, and I only killed one exocrine with my whole army again. So I don't know what it is. I just can't seem to kill these Tyranids. I just can't do it. I have all the big guns in the world, and they just bounce.
Hmm.
They just bounce, and
Yeah. So if you want to beat Necrons, Richard, you need to get on Invasion Fleet, even though you find it boring,
yes, yes.
because it
But
is really, it is actually good into us.
in fact, what I think I need to do is play Richard on Invasion Fleet and overcome my fear of Tyrant FXs and not being able to kill them.
Yeah. Well,
Because
Richard's Tyrannofixes don't ever roll above a two.
yes, and I had the classic thing where he would roll his Tyrant FXs, I would fail a save. I'd be like, okay, my guy's uninjured. There's nothing else to shoot him. Do I want to spend one of my many CPUs that I've pulled to try and keep this guy alive on full health? It's like, nah, it'll be okay. Roll your damage. Of course, it's a six. It's always a six. He's down to two. I'm like, crap. Now I've actually got to hide it, and yeah,
I'm
um,
more of an optimist. When I pass one of the two invulns they give me, the first thing I think is, "Oh, it's not dead."
yeah.
I get
No,
another
that
activation.
that's good, but it's you know we have the ability to move after they shoot. So in the normal play pattern of Invasion Fleet is you shoot with an Exocrine, you give your Tyrant effects reroll once. But of course, if they do that now, we can move out of line of sight of the Tyrant effects. So it puts them in a tricky situation, and then you think, well, maybe they'll now just shoot the Tyrant effects, and maybe they miss because they roll a one, but no, they roll two hits and two wounds, and you make a
Hmm.
save, and then you take 12 damage to the dome, which means that you're already bracketed for the next turn, and you've got to be very, very careful because you could easily battle shock and then not be able to save it next time. But
Yeah, yeah.
hmm,
So, what thoughts do you have about your list, Starshatter, against the current meta and after the tournament?
I still feel like the list is fine. I don't think it was a list problem. I think it was a me problem this time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I will try new stuff. I'm going to try the Wraith Brick. I think um,
Hmm.
I saw somebody had. Oh, we haven't talked about the list yet, but there's a list coming up we're going to look at that has both the CCB and the Silent King for
Hmm.
rerolls, which was something that I looked at before. It just felt very greedy. It's like the polar opposite of Mark's list. But I'm going to try that as well. I'm
Yeah.
going to stick with Starshatter for a bit, just till I get more reps, and
Hmm. Yeah.
I will.
I'd like to try a lot more destroyers, see how I feel about running a lot of that, like a lot of anti tank, like an absurd amount of destroyers.
Yeah, I mean,
See what them.
you still want the three Omnitics. Those
Oh yeah,
things they overperform to my detriment sometimes.
yes they
When I
do.
would line up a charge to get myself area denial, knowing that it was like a 2 inch charge, couldn't fail it, but then the Omnitics would come along and just go, "Nah, should delete that unit, just leave you in the
Hmm.
middle." So
Yeah, they
those
performed well for me as well.
they need to be there to catch the time when you play against the hordes, and then you need to cover them in in pillows so that they don't die because they
Mm.
will carry you through that game single handedly. Um,
Yep, yep.
and the matchups where they're really bad, well, they can still kill a tank if the stars align.
Yeah, my thoughts about it, I feel the same. I really like the list as it is. It's quite a greedy version, I think, because you're committing so many points, like 1,000 points into four models. But it just does a lot of damage. It's really good at holding the mid board. The Silent King, just I just love him as a model. I love I just love using him. Like he's so versatile and he's such a threat. Some people, choose to ignore him, but then you can just shove him down their throat. Really,
Yeah,
um, it's just about knowing how to use him, how much damage he can really take, and how much damage he can really do. And using him as a body. Uh, Highlight unit, definitely the emetics. They just shred anything. If it's on an objective, they just absolutely shred it. The highlight was against Charles, where I shot 24 emetic shots, so that's two guys, into a squad of eradicators. And out of my 24 shots, I got 20 sustained hits before re-rolling to hit. I
yeah,
got I got one miss, three which was a re-roll into a hit, and then about 20 sustained hits. So they died. Those eradicators died. He had not much left after that, and I was not expecting that at all. Absolutely crazy. And yeah, I just think it's really balanced. It's good. Obviously, we're all talking about UKTC, and you can apply this information to a lot of different terrains, I think. But I think the Sand King does get significantly, well, not significantly, he gets weaker on WTC on some maps because he is very map dependent then.
but he can move through buildings now, which really makes him a lot more scary because you can hide him behind a ruin, use his indirect to pick off something, and then they have to be ready for him to just move 8 inches through a wall and then charge or something as well.
That's
So
why it's board dependent, I mentioned, because a lot of the um, if you're playing heavy board, where if you're on WTC where it's got big L's, where you can just sit right behind it, then move through them, that's obviously good. But a lot of them are short, so we can't touch into it without being shot, and you can't clear the entire base and get him outside. Is on some of the WTC maps, so it is a bit more fiddly, I guess. Definitely still worth trying. I've tried him a few times, but uh, yeah, and he's just a bit more fiddly on it. But yeah, I think it's a super solid list. I recommend anyone giving it a try. It's just you've got to just be really careful with your pieces, really.
hmm.
And
I think I was too careful with mine.
mm,
I
mhm.
could have easily been more aggressive, throw things up there quicker, force the pace to be a little bit faster in the games where
Mm.
it was slow, and just against the nids, just go gung ho and
Yeah,
hope that it
yeah.
works really. Um,
Yeah, like we obviously our list doesn't have Imatech, and I think Imatech's a bit of a bait. I think he's a bit of a waste of points in my opinion. Well, not a waste. It's 100 points, and then he has to go with somebody, so it's potentially 170 / 185
yeah, Lich Guard.
for just an extra OC. But if you get more careful with your stratagems, and you know when to use the -1 to wound because it might actually help you, like increase your chances, or when to use the fallback and or the reactive move. The knowledge, I think, of just when it's actually a good time to use these strats will stop you just spamming them, because sometimes we do have to use a reroll, a CP reroll, and sometimes we do have to redraw a card.
Yeah, I mean, I went into this tournament saying I was not going to use CPU roll for a number of shots on any of my DDAs once because it's something that I did a lot in Hypercrypt because I didn't have many strats to use apart from the core strats and the 3 inch deep strike. And yeah, I didn't. And there were games where I had 5 or 6 CP in the middle of the game, and I was thinking, right, I need to actually use some of these CPs.
Hmm.
I was redrawing cards like crazy. I still didn't CP reroll a number of shots, apart from maybe once. But the reactive move was really nice. There were some moments where, like against the AdMech player, I shoved my reanimator up into the center, just gave him line of sight down 2 or 3 lanes. So if he wanted to take it out, his only way of doing it would be to poke his tanks out. He shot one. I moved it. His tanks were then exposed. I could just pick both up
Hmm.
straight away. Um, and if he didn't do anything, then I held the primary. So that was a good case of using the reactive move.
Yeah, yeah. So now I think we're gonna have a look at the other two top lists.
Yeah,
I was gonna look at
yeah. There was two that did well
yes,
in other events around the world. There
yes. So we've
was
got somebody who finished first at the
yeah,
Medina GT. Uh, oh,
in Italy.
Giorgino.
Well, I'll let you
Castile,
I'll let you pronounce it.
Castelli, Giorgino Castelli. I'm really sorry. I'm bad enough at English, and this was his list. So he was running, and I'm just going to put it into the spotlight. He was running
Mm,
Catacomb Command Barge with the rerolls,
yeah,
Scorpeth Lord, like just like us two, with the -1 damage, Technomancer with the fallback. But obviously, as Andy mentioned earlier, he's playing a Silent King in addition to the Command Barge for rerolls. He's got the spider, the swarms, the scarabs. He's got two spiders.
yeah.
Wraiths,
So
thralls.
I
Yeah.
would expect one spider runs up with the Silent King, the other one kind
Hmm.
of sits back with the Doomsday Axe, or you just
Yeah.
use them as a mission piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So like.
having the rerolls with the command barge is good because you
Mhm.
don't mind him sitting back, babysitting the Doomsday Axe because you're not losing a lot in terms of points. Whereas if you do that with the Silent King, he doesn't get involved in the game, and you feel like it's a lot of it lost. So he can go forwards with maybe one DDA and some Scorpex or the Wraiths, and the other one can sit back with the
Mhm.
other two DDAs and
Yeah.
and blast away. So there is some nice balance there, but
Yeah, and he's got
and
triple
obviously
destroyers just for some actions. So
he
it's
did well and went 5-0, so can't
yeah,
argue with
really
it.
yeah, really well done to him. Again, it's obviously it's quite a similar kind of cut and paste, but it's just a bit of a difference with the spiders. I'm
Hmm.
personally not a fan of them in the detachment because I think they're just too slow.
Yeah,
That's just
yeah.
so I just know some people that do.
If everything starts advancing, then it only takes one good advance roll for the Silent King and then a bad advance roll for the Spider, and they get too disconnected.
Hmm.
And you obviously can't move like the Silent King up first, his max, and then move the Spider with a bad advance, and then go, oh, I'm just going to move the Silent King back because it's not the right way to play. Um, so
Yeah.
that's otherwise it's got some nice guns into hordes, but like you're playing against guard, you're suddenly getting 2d6 plus 10 shots from one spider, which is it's not too shabby for 75 points.
Hmm.
But yeah, they are a little bit slow and they're not quite as durable without the invul as the reanimator is with its feel no pain. So
Yes, yeah. So it's a bit of a mix of some of the lists that we've seen.
hmm,
So then we also have
a 5-1 list
five
from,
and one.
I think it was the
So
second biggest event of the weekend in America.
yep. So Tom Cohen, I believe, in America. So they usually play GW terrain. So
Hmm.
I'm going to imagine that this is GW, and he was running a nice small list that fits on one screen, which we love. Imatech,
Yeah.
Command Barge with the rerolls, Hexmark with the fallback, Locust Lord with the ignores cover, 10 Necron Warriors, and a Ghost Arc,
Oh, yes.
because it's actually good, and I keep telling people it's worth trying. And two lots of flayed ones, which I love. Triple Ophidians. I don't know what it is with Americans and their obsession with Ophidians. Looking at some of those world champ lists, and they've got three squads of Ophidians in Hypercrypt,
Hmm.
it just baffles me. But he clearly had, good use of it. They must be decent on those boards or something. But Scorpus, six destroyers, which Andy hates.
Andy
Um,
hates, yes.
yeah, that's all
Andy
I'm going to
hates.
say.
Andy hates
Even.
these. I've hated them since the start of 10th edition. I really have.
Mhm.
They're just so underwhelming every time. Maybe it's just me. I can't use them. But
I think they're just good. And this is, I was having a chat with David Gaylord on um, Sunday, and I think he was saying that he likes to use them as an early game unit just to get out there. They're quite durable. It's obviously a bit expensive, and I don't know. I do like them. It's just fitting them in, but I like the Emetics more. And this he has
yes,
both, so I like this list, to be honest. I do I do actually like this list a lot.
I just find they drop off so much without the full rerolls to hit.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. If they don't
strength,
get that, then
strength 5 lets them down considerably against tanks.
hmm
If they can't just mass roll for lethals.
yeah, yeah. And triple DDA with his Ghost Arc. Yeah, I do like this list a lot. I I was trying something very similar to this, but well, I've had a game with it, but obviously no Ophidians.
I feel like it lacks anti-tank without the Silent King and solo destroyers. You
Yes.
got three DDAs which can brawl, but and then if you go with the Lord and the six destroyers, perhaps potentially you could try and point them at some tanks with AP2 Ignos cover.
Hmm.
With trying to rely on the lethal hits, but if you don't roll them the first time around, then you're winning on sixes basically every time.
Yeah, yeah. It does have only 5 activations
Hmm.
essentially of damage.
Yeah,
But yeah, again, because I wouldn't run Imatech in this list. I'd
but yeah,
drop Imatech and a fit, and then like the Ophidians, and then you can probably add like single heavies. Those single heavies did work. They really
hmm,
did. I'm
they
not
do.
usually a big fan of them, but when they're even just a single shot hitting on twos on something on an objective. When I was playing against Chaos Knights, like the two single ones killed a knight. It's like one shot, another
Yeah,
shot.
my low
Um,
light was pointing two of them in my game against Tyranids to try and kill a spore mine, and not one of them could do it. They
oh,
couldn't kill a spore mine.
the
That
absolute
that summed up my
audacity.
game. Yeah, that bloody spore mine just still makes me lose some sleep. But yeah, they're great
Mm.
little pieces because they're cheap enough to throw forwards. The OC2, they can double up as action monkeys, and then they have one shot that can scare the living daylights out of a tank.
Mm.
You know,
I don't know a Tyranid player that doesn't remove the Spore Mine as soon as you say, I'm going to shoot at this Spore Mine. But he clearly had balls of steel and knew
yeah,
that you'd miss.
yeah, yeah. Well, twice.
Hmm.
Uh, Spore
So,
mines. Yeah,
yeah, that wraps up all of the lists that we're looking at. So, we were going to look at Meta Monday and the state of the faction
real
next.
fast. Yeah, just not setting the world on fire, but not doing too badly as
Yeah,
well.
so we're, as always, very, very balanced. Like, nice in that balance window
Middle of the pack.
ish, almost. So I think 1% over.
Yeah,
Huge amount of games and players.
still the most popular faction.
Yeah, and we are just an incredibly popular faction. But oh yeah, sorry, I was looking at just Starshatter. So yeah, 51% for overall for the faction. Um, which is really nice to see that it is not as brain dead as some people like to make it out to be. Yes, it is very strong. We're not saying that it isn't. We're not saying that it doesn't need changes. It probably does.
I think the results of the factions split is based on a lot of the stronger players adopting Star Shatter rather to see how it plays into the meta. And once give it a couple of months and it settles down, I think players will start branching out into the other detachments a bit more, and we'll find a
Yeah.
better spread in terms of win rate. Because if most of the top players playing this faction stick to Star Shatter, then you expect that to have the highest win rate. And
Hmm.
I think that's what we're seeing right now. If you look at most of the players, they're playing Starshatter, and that you can see from the number of players, 51 out of 70 were on Starshatter. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's hopefully we don't get some kind of knee-jerk reaction nerf.
Yeah. I think there are some changes that need to be made, but we do have predators in the meta.
Hmm.
It's not a dominant. It's not the top in the top three in my mind. It's not one of the top three factions. We do lose like guard. The bridgehead guard I think is really tough. Melee pressure, like that Liberator Assault group list is difficult. In space some space marine lists in general are quite difficult. Stuff can still outgun us. Like Iron Storm still very good. Stuff like that. That we and Death Guard has gotten a bit harder than it used to be with Hypercrypt. So we're not
Absolutely.
exactly
Well,
strong, but not dominant.
okay, Matt. We advertised we're doing a tier list. We need
Oh
we need
yeah.
to get on with a tier list, otherwise we're gonna get
Yeah,
done for
we've
false advertising here.
so we third one in, we have to do a tier list. It's just necessary. We thought we instead of making it its own video, we're just going to rope it into this one, and it can be a slightly longer one for you guys. So this is our tier list, and the tier list is going to be every Necron unit and what it's like in Starshatter,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah. We're going to do a tier list for each different detachment, but since Star Shatter is the hotness at the moment, we are going to focus on that,
Hmm.
just based on what we've found so far. I don't know about you. I have tried nearly the majority of these units at some point in this detachment. There are a couple that obviously we know we're not going to use Obelisk, um, but we have some experience with at least some of them, so you know, let's go for it.
Hmm.
But as the winner of our little competition when it came to Nottingham, you unfortunately get final say on our disagreements, which I'm sure we've asked in many. So take it away, Maestro.
So I get to pick the first unit and where it goes, or are
Well,
we
no,
doing it? Or would you like to do it in order?
we will discuss it, but you know, if we can't agree where it goes,
We will
which
discuss
we're
it.
not going to agree where it goes, then you're going to get to pick.
Okay.
Rather frustrating.
So we'll just do the. I'll just do the first. I'll do it in order.
Well, I think we can do some of them real fast,
Yeah.
basically. So,
So I'm gonna. So we'll just do the deceiver.
well, no, I was thinking we could start with the Titanic units, and they just automatically go at the bottom, because as good as
Oh
some of
yeah,
them
in
are,
Starshire. Yeah.
what are you actually doing playing any of these?
Yeah.
Because they are genuinely impossible to move around at the best of times, but then they gain literally nothing from the detachment. And the Surap tech that
Oh
needs to
yeah.
go in
There
there
it is.
too. As much as I love some of these models, and I still think the Obelisk is great, which we'll discuss in another tier list, I'm sure.
Hmm.
They have to go down there because if you're playing those, you're absolutely out of your mind.
Yeah, they just don't benefit. They can't be moved around easily enough. They're
Yeah.
just. They're not really giving you anything.
Okay,
Um.
go. Where do you want to
So
go?
I will pick. I will pick the humble ghost arc because I
Okay.
am, and I am going to put it fits. It sits.
Yeah.
I I think it can be good. I think too many is a mistake, as I've learned. Um, but it with the ghost art with the warriors or a ghost art with a single score path
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
so on. It's just very tanky for its points. It's 115 points and it's
Mm,
got 14 wounds with a 4 up invuln that moves 10 inches
yeah.
and it is a good move block. It actually is a good at move blocking.
Yeah, it's more durable than the Stalker, more durable than the Barge, especially for the points. And yeah, so I think that the Warriors fit beside it.
Hmm.
I can see taking it with a Scorpic Destroyer and just starting the Destroyer inside, getting him out, and then you've just got it as a tank body. They
Yeah.
are quite hot doggish in terms of the size. They're not easy to hide, and if you're taking 3 Doomsday Arcs as well, it's going to be a struggle to fit them all on the table and not have them shot turn 1. But then if
Yeah.
it's a Ghost Arc, you don't actually mind that because then your Doomsday Arcs can come in and hit back. So
Hmm.
I'm happy with it being there. I think that we're going to see a lot more of them. I'm certainly going to start playing with them a little bit as well.
Yeah. And
Um,
they're just a good packet. They just deliver 20 OC to the doorstep, and
yeah.
it's just another problem that your opponents I think have.
So I think Warriors go there as well, right next to it. And I don't think it's at the top of this little tier section, but I think it's going to be there.
Yeah, we can adjust where we have like the best in the tier in that tier on the left, and then as we go on to the right, we can do above and below each unit
Okay, so I'm going to pick the Locust Destroyer, the normal, humble Locust Destroyer.
areas. And where would you like
Now,
to put him?
I want to split it because 1 is People's Champ. Every day you want to take at least 1 or 2 of these guys. 6, I need to go. And what are you thinking? That's that. I think it goes in People's Champ. To be honest, I think
Yeah,
1 just sits there.
I
Um,
think either or. Yeah, one. You need to have. It's a 35-point model that holds your backfield, or it's a 35-point model that comes on the side of the board and screens,
yeah.
or it comes on and does contain, or does an action,
Mhm.
and it's just a single one of them is so much value.
So when I'm rating a marine list, and I look at it and I go, I want something cheap that I can just throw away for whatever purpose. And wait, they don't have anything that costs 35 points. Wow, how do they build lists? So yeah,
Yeah,
two of
it's
these, three of these, they're kind of auto take at the moment for me. So
yeah,
and
and
they actually benefit from the rules too. When you explain to your opponent,
mm,
this is 35 points, it's just a throw a unit. But if you're sat in an objective and you're the closest target, I've got 3 shots hitting on twos with lethal hits that I can reroll all my hits against. It's, it does some damage.
yeah, sometimes it can just kill a marine or two.
Yeah, yeah. Or as I found in one of my games against Thousand Suns, it can actually just kill an Infernal Master that you wanted to
Mm,
charge, and then it just lets you down horribly
yeah,
by being too good. So
so I will pick the next one, and I am going to put the spider,
yeah,
and I am going to put the spider here.
okay. I
And you can let me know what you think. It's either here or one above. Is
I
what do
think
you
it's one
think?
above.
Do you think it's
I
one
still
above?
think it's an okay choice. It's an all right
Yeah.
choice. Oh, by the way, we haven't actually gone through the tiers that we're choosing
Oh, of
here.
course.
I
Yeah.
think
So
you
we'll
should
do
probably
that.
do that because I can't quite read.
So People's Champ is obviously you take that all day, every day. If you're not making a list with at least one of these, then what are you doing?
Hmm.
Especially now. I mean, there could be somebody that innovates better than we can think of, and they are like, "Well, you shouldn't run this." Actually, I don't think that 3 DDAs are good. But guess what? Like this is going to be in nearly every well-performing list.
Yeah.
Tier two is if it fits, it sits. That's kind of the yeah. This is a strong choice, and I can totally see you taking that. I can totally see you choosing not to take that for something that's of equal value or better.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, tier three, I own it. Okay, like I want to play it. I think it's good. I think it does this thing. It has downsides though. It's personal preference at this point. I think
Yeah.
with these kind of units. Tier four is I thought it was good. I had a good idea, but on reflection, I realised I was wrong. You're testing this out. You're like, yeah, this is going to work. This tech in this list, this is actually the shit. But
Turns
no,
out
it's
it's not.
actually not.
No, it's not. It was
Why
a
are you
mistake
running
to
that
move. Yes,
and not running
exactly.
this? This
Yeah.
does this better. Run
Yeah.
this.
Exactly.
And then tier five, do we have to really explain like why are you putting this in that list?
Yeah.
This doesn't work with a list. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't get any benefits. It's not good at a job. Just
Yeah.
to put it in a different list or leave it in your cabinet at home.
Put it in the
So
bin potentially. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So back to the spider.
Hmm.
He's hypergrip, bloody S tier, A tier. Love him. Take him every time because he gives so much. Like with vehicle spam, obviously, he gives so much mobility. He's got mobility. He gives durability to your vehicles, etc., etc. But in this, he's too fucking slow.
He is. He is just too slow. He's still a good choice. There are still good matchups for him, like Thousand Suns, for example, or matchups where they rely on a lot of dev wounds to punch their damage through. Um, but yeah, he's too slow. If you're building around him as that kind of crutch, then it slows the rest of your army down. So yeah, I agree with him in that little spot.
hmm
I don't think he's any lower than that because we've seen players do well with them. So
hmm
you know,
Yeah, they just help your like Silent King, as we've said, like
yeah.
defend. And if you play on certain boards where you are able to castle your big vehicles, then he's fine when you with them all.
Okay, let's go with the Void Dragon, shall we? Uh,
Where is
mid
he?
left, mid left, and I think he goes in. I own it. Okay, I think he's probably the fourth choice Catan at this point.
Hmm.
Still strong. He does benefit from the detachment rule, but I think if you want Catan's, it's a better choice.
Yeah. Do you think he's above or below the spider? I think he's below.
I think he's below the spider
Yeah,
as
so he's in
well.
the right spot.
Yeah. Okay. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's huge. He's really hard to hide,
Hmm,
and we don't need another tank killing thing when the Nightbringer just does what he does but better.
exactly. Okay.
Yes, he doesn't woo tanks and twos, but it's not
Okay.
that. But
Next, but
so
but the Nightbringer can with the
+1 to
straps.
wound, of course. Yeah,
So
he's just tiny boy.
okay.
So I'm gonna pick something. Tomb Blades. I think Tomb Blades are in it fits. It sits.
Yeah, I think they're towards the
Um,
bottom end of it.
I think. Do you think they're above or below Ghost Arc combo?
I think they're below the Ghost Guard combo, personally. I've seen them in quite a few lists. They do
Hmm.
have some nice mobility, but they also just die when you look at them.
Yeah,
And
they do a job and they do it quite well. But then they die and they are 75 points.
yes, and for 75 points, I want something that dies with a little bit more investment from my opponent.
Like a reanimator.
Yes, which we can. Okay, we can talk about him next.
Okay,
Reanimator, I think he's
nice.
definitely people's champ. He's the first thing on my list at the moment. Mid left again.
Oh, this is horrible.
How can you not?
I
How can
just,
you not know what he
I
looks
don't.
like?
I do know he looks. I'm just not looking at the right bit.
I think he
He,
works nicely with the strats that we have in terms of keeping him alive. Because with the Four of Feel No Pain, it's so hard to work out whether you can kill him consistently. So they have to invest, and they have to invest hard to kill him, or they leave him alone. And OC3 is going to help you hold objectives sometimes.
For
It,
me personally, I think he is not a people's champ, and I think that
okay.
he's at the top of it fits. It sits like one of the tops, and my reasoning is that he is extremely good. He basically is in contention with the tryout stalker of the thing that goes onto the mid board early, the thing that tanks stuff up. And obviously, he makes your army more durable. He's great with wraiths. These are obviously all really good things,
Yeah.
but you don't have to take him in every list. He
So
is an option. He is very good at what he does, so that's
th-
why I
think
picked him.
think about him as a unit that you can throw out there that benefits from basically the entire detachment, every rule that's in it. He's your own beast of Nurgle. He doesn't need to hang around anything. For 75 points, he can just go off on his own. He's got OC3, and basically, if they don't kill him, which is hard because after one activation, you can move him out of line of sight. You can give him -1 to wound in melee when they're trying to, actually take him down with a lot of DACA, and -1 damage if he's got that as well. It makes it really tough. So he doesn't need any of the rest of the army to function by himself. He can just go out there by himself for 75 points and demand some kind of reaction. And there's
Yeah,
not many things that we have that do that. The Trial Stalker is 35 points more, which, he moves faster, yes, but he probably doesn't require as much thought
I think they move the
killing.
same. He scouts obviously, but they
Yes,
both move 8.
but then he scouts out of range of your command
Yeah,
-1
yeah.
damage, and the 4 at Feel No Pain just makes it even trickier with that
I
damage.
just
So,
yeah, I think that I don't think he's an auto take the reanimator. I think he's just
well,
incredibly good and he's definitely worth taking, but it's your choice. You don't have to take him.
Well, I
That's
disagree with that, but you get to choose as per
I
our bet. So if you want to stick him in, it fits it sits.
he's at the top of it fits it sits for
Then
me.
okay,
But it's obviously completely opinion based.
yeah, okay.
But I'd say he's very in between. If there was an in between of that, I think he's just incredibly strong.
Maybe
But
we can put him up there later. We'll see. We'll see
yeah,
where
we'll see with
everything
the
else
rest of the
is.
list, and then you
Okay.
can
So
convince
what's your
me.
next choice?
So to keep it on topic, I'll just go with wraiths.
Okay.
I think they're another. It fits. It sits.
Yep. I
Uh,
think.
they don't have to be. And I think they're better than a Ghost Art Warriors.
Yep. And I think you need to put the
Um,
Technomancer with them as well because
yeah, and obviously, yeah, we might as well
the
just
basic
do
package.
two birds, one stone.
Middle
God,
top.
I'm terrible at this, aren't
You
I?
are middle top. Come on.
Yeah, two birds, one stone. They're in the same spot. It's not
Yeah.
these three together, Reanimator, Techno, Wraiths,
Hmm.
all make a package where I think it's necessary to have all three. Some people don't. Some people like just the Technomancer and Wraiths, but it just force multiply of how obnoxious this
Hmm.
unit becomes to kill when you can res it that many times.
And I think you actually want to put Crypto Thralls up there as well.
I
I don't even
don't.
see them actually on the list. By the way, oh, they're on the right hand
Yeah,
side.
they are there. If you didn't see one, I don't think they're
I, I,
like
th-
as
I,
auto take as Wraiths are by themselves.
I think that if you're going to take the race, you take that one package for the one reason is to be durable as hell and try and lock down the center, frustrate your opponent. And adding the crypto throws does that. And it also gives you a cooler horde option, which is an auto redraw for
Yes.
most people. And you'd never want to be in that situation where you have to kill a squad of wraiths, especially with reactive move once they've been shot, that kind of stuff going on. And with the reanimator there as well, that whole package is, if you're going in on that, you go all in on it.
Hmm.
I don't think you don't. So
And so that's where I would think that it would be in I own it, because you don't. I mean, I don't know actually. No, I think it's, yeah, I can go in there, but it's lower down. It's next to them. I don't think it's as important. Like, I think you can just run both of them. I prefer to run it as a whole package. I do. I really do. But I can totally see somebody subbing them out if they just
hmm,
need 60 points for something else.
yeah,
So,
and there will be a world where you don't have to attach them.
yeah, yeah. So it's not this list is not locked in stone. It's completely kind of flexible.
Because I mean, I
Um,
wouldn't take the crypto thralls anywhere else. They
no,
are
no.
they are literally locked to the race package. After
Mm,
that, they're in the right at the bottom along with the Titanic units. Like, what are you
mhm,
doing here?
mm.
So,
So, am I choosing next?
you can do because
Yeah. So I will just pick the Plasmancer, and I think he goes here. In just what were you thinking?
yeah, in Starshatter,
Yeah,
the Plasma Answer Immortal package it doesn't give you anything. You don't
it's
gain
you're not
anything
getting
from
any
that.
bonuses.
There are
You're not.
better detachments for this combination,
Yeah, he's not doing anything in this.
and
He's
I think you can probably stick Immortals down there as well. You want Immortals want you to be standing on objective, but the entire detachment won't be standing on objective already. And if people aren't going to stand on objectives, Immortals are just incredibly worse.
Yeah, they're just not benefiting anything from this detachment. There's no point running them. This package of Plasmancer Immortals is an infinitely worse version of the Heavy Destroyers.
And yeah, so whereas in other detachments they can get, you get +1 to hit from Awakened anyway, with access to a full reroll hit stratagem, which is exactly what they want. They have the reanimation strat as well, and the characters can get back up if they're sniped. Whereas in Starshatter, they get none of that basically. So,
Mm.
and I would say the Chronomancer is probably tied to that as well, but there is argument for them going with the Warriors and the Ghost Arc for a little bit of shenanigans.
Yeah, so I think the Chronomancer can go in here. In
Yeah,
I th-
it's still not
yeah,
great.
with, and this is only in context of him going with Warriors, where it's just becomes more expensive, and then it's a more expensive thing for only doing one thing once. Is kind of the
Yeah, should we talk about the Psychomancer then?
oh
Because
yeah.
I thought about
Let's get
putting a
them as well.
Psychomancer in with the Ghost Dark package as a solo character, but it's just too cute. It doesn't do enough, does it?
Yeah, it's not. It's not the armies that he affects. It's just points that we just don't have. Like, we just don't have the points.
Yeah, someone somewhere is going to come up with a free Ghost Dark, free Warrior, three Psychomancer list, and they're gonna do really well. But it will be only one time, and then no one will be able to reproduce the
I've
results.
done three of those things, but doing well with it is not something I've
Fair
done.
enough.
So
Okay,
I've tried.
okay. So
So we
let's
might as well let's get Orican as well, because that gets rid of most of the cryptex then,
yeah. So
because he's
Orican,
just
he's
trash.
just
Get
he's
him in the
just
bin.
overpointed, and he's not going to contribute enough in this
Yeah,
detachment.
this is doing nothing.
Let's put the Overlord with Translocation Shroud next. Maybe I think
Yeah,
he goes one above. You know
I think
there are
he
some good free
is.
strats
I
that you
think
can
in
get.
I own it okay, because he makes he can go with the Lich Guard, and the auto advance in 6 is good. So I think I own it okay is nice for him.
I
He's
mean, I
not like,
prefer the other Overlord with the Scythe because he's just got better damage
I think
output.
they're just about the same.
No,
I prefer the Shroud because it's a different.
that's the one with the missile, mate, and so he's the
I
worst
don't think
choice.
there is another one, so I
Oh,
think we'll just count him as, yeah. It's just an Overlord with whatever, with your
mm,
Resorb usually. I think they both do different things. I prefer the auto advance 6 for getting onto the expansion early.
mm,
But I think they both go in there because they can get the re-rolls, so they do actually have a purpose within the detachment, and they can go with Lich Guard. But
yeah.
Lich Guard, which I think we should put up now as well.
Yeah.
are just a worse version of wraiths,
Sorry,
really.
Paul, and your 30 Lich Guard.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
they die too easy and they're too expensive.
I mean, 85 points for 10 wounds with a 3 up, 4 up isn't bad. It's just they move a bit too slow and we can't put them in transports to deliver them. And
Yeah,
that's the main downside. The only transport we can do that is with is the Night Scythe, and this isn't the attachment for that either. So it's a good
no.
segue. Let's put the Night Scythe
Yeah, so
in
let's get the night
the
scythe.
absolute bottom.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not doing anything. Yes, we can get assault on our flyer that
yeah,
can't
yeah. It,
advance,
it can't reactive move either because it can't move less than 6 inches.
and getting +1 to hit on a AP 0 2 damage gun is
No,
not it.
no.
So we might as
The,
well do its partner, the Doom Scythe.
I no, I don't think it goes down there.
I think it goes in one above.
Yeah, because getting +1 to hit on the big gun is actually quite nice, and
Yeah.
it still benefits from the rerolls, and
Hmm.
it gets line of sight over the whole terrain, so it
Yeah.
can be good. But
On the
again,
right terrain, it can be decent.
and
Maybe on
having
GW, it goes up 1, but
you can give it -1 to wound, you can
yeah.
give it -1 damage, so and it has more offensive output than the Night Scythe. So I will be trying a list with two of these, but I always get a bit wary by putting too much of my
Hmm.
army into things that can't hold objectives
All right.
as well.
Let's get rid of the last trash one, the
Oh,
conversion of Dominion.
the super secret tech that gives all your infantry a 6 up feel no pain. Why
For
would
the
you get rid
small
of that?
price of 180 points.
60 points because you can take them individually now.
Yeah, but are you going to take one?
But can it reactive move? That's the question.
Oh, I don't know. Can it? No, because it's up to 6 inches and it moves 0. So,
Exactly.
so yeah, you
Exactly.
can you can go. You can use the strat, but you will not be able to move anywhere.
Yeah, but -1 damage on this thing just sat there doing nothing is pointless. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does nothing. It's not done anything. I saw a list one time in ninth with it.
yeah, no, it did really cute things in ninth. I bought one,
Yeah.
built it, painted it, had great success, and then it got nerfed straight away. Because when it was 27 points at the time, toughness 8 with 10 wounds, nobody wanted to kill it. But yeah, it's had its one game in the sun. I think one person won a GT with it, and that's about it.
Hmm.
Okay,
What's your pick next?
let's go with the Omnitics, and I think they are definitely in people's champ.
Yes, I agree.
Um, I wish I'd, I wish I'd had them earlier. My 3D printed ones managed to survive the entire tournament without falling to pieces once. I was so overjoyed. It's the best part of my weekend. They didn't break.
Yeah,
But
they just put out so much damage into so many different profiles.
yeah, I can see running them solo by themselves as a one, just to come out with 12 shots is
Hmm.
pretty strong. Playing three by as just themselves as well is strong, but three with the Lord and ignores cover just puts them over the top.
And obviously, we don't have a separate one for the Gauss variant, and I would also put them pretty
Yeah,
high up as well. Heavy destroyers are just very good in this detachment, moving through walls. The mythics are obviously really good, but a Gauss hitting on twos or rolling, wounding on threes, potentially twos,
yeah,
uh, which I don't think you'd spend the strat unless you're running a 3 man. But yeah,
yeah,
it's still, and it's just an action monkey as well. Still
yeah.
really good for the.
I always forget that the Omnitics also have heavy as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They do actually, don't they?
Yeah. Okay.
A stalker. I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick Triumph Stalker,
Mm.
and I'm gonna put it in. It fits. It sits, but lower down. I
Hmm.
think about there.
Yeah.
It's a replacement for the reanimator if you prefer that. It does strip cover, so if you don't have the enhancement on the and you want to strip cover on more stuff, it's fine. It's quicker at the beginning of the game. It's just a bit more annoying to hide.
It's such an
Uh,
ungainly model, isn't it? Let's be honest.
hmm
There
It's
are
just so wide.
there are some movement paths on UKTC which they physically can't fit through because the legs stick
Hmm
out too much.
Yeah, they end up crab walking to the side. So I think you can run it. It can do okay. I'd be even tempted to put it low down, but I'm going to put it at the bottom actually because I'm just not that big of a fan of it after testing it. I just think a reanimator is much better.
I think it I mean, it depends. If you're playing a critical mass of vehicles with 4 ups, then it's certainly got a role to play. But it
Yeah.
is. and unfortunately, it is literally our second shooting tank in terms of damage output, which is a sorry state of
Hmm.
affairs. But if you wanted to take more tanks, then that's probably the next one on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just pick something that we're never going to play. Ophidian destroyers.
Yeah, get rid of them.
I
I
mean, we
think they're literal. They're the definition of this.
yeah. However, I think we have to put them higher up because the community has spoken. Enough people are playing with them and doing well with them
Yeah,
that we have to put them a bit higher than that. No matter
yeah.
what our personal feelings say, they're not good, but other people are doing well
Some
with them. So,
people are enjoying them. I just think Scorpions are better. Like, is
yeah,
if if you
but
play against somebody that's even slightly competent, they'll screen out their backfield,
yeah,
and then it's just a 80-point unit that's sat in your backfield on your home objective, which could be a 35-point destroyer,
yeah,
just going up and down, and they can't stay in reserves. That's like the main thing that is
yeah,
a bugbear
yeah.
for me.
If we could pick them up and leave them in reserves, have them as a rapid ingress, then they would be at least
So
two
much better.
tiers higher. But
Yeah,
they can't.
yeah, so much better.
Okay,
I think Scorpions, just to
yeah.
talk over that, I think that it fits its six. Uh,
I personally think they're
or do you think they're a
people's
people's
champ.
champ?
With or
Yeah,
without the
people's
Lord, we
champ.
need a melee threat, and they are
Yeah,
the
yeah, no,
most
I
points
agree.
efficient melee threat we have. Catans are obviously better individually, but they cost a
Mm,
lot. And having just three moving bodies at 90 points, they're still expensive for their durability, but they
yeah,
can, they can threaten some things that need
and
threatening.
6 OC for three guys that move eight on UKTC on Search and Destroy. They're perfect for screening out that whole quarter, and your opponent can't fit much OC behind that ruin. Usually, it's about six for 6 OC. I don't think there's that much in the game that can actually touch that objective without touching the ruin that is higher than 6 OC. So they just do a really good job of denying early and then skirmishing early, and they can just kill a tank, like hitting on twos, rolling, winning on fives to fours with
Hmm.
devs. And
Yeah, I mean, the Lord helps them a lot.
yeah, and we'll add that. So
And I
I
think he
think
is up there as well.
he's a people's champ as well.
You could take him by himself just to carry the enhancements because
Hmm.
he is quite tough. He can contribute to the battle with his melee and his charge wounds, and
Yeah.
his four shots in shooting at short range can actually be okay. He never does anything
They
ever.
do. They're chaff clearing. Like they do. He's just really tough, and
Hmm.
he is one of the best holders for the enhancements and the ability to, if you run with him with score pass as well, it just doubles them up their lethality up against vehicles for the lethals.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's really good.
I attach him half the time. Okay,
Yeah.
Serraz.
Where would he's probably. I mean, he's probably not that good, is he? And
I
Zeraz.
don't think he's quite down that low. He's still decent. He still gives you armor contempt for all of the battle line that we don't take.
Yeah, that's the issue I'm feeling.
Is a mini Catan at the end of the
Yeah,
day. And when you've got the 4 up field of pain, the 2 up 4 up, if you can get him on an objective and they can put some damage into him, and then you actually use the reanimation strat on your turn, you're just getting a lot more value out of that strat on him than you are most of the other
yeah.
most of the
He's
other
still a
things.
really tough lone op, essentially.
Yeah, so I can see him being played. I wouldn't argue against people playing him, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily run him with battle line just because he buffs battle line.
Hmm.
And I would rather pay an extra 50 points for him to buff non battle line, just like infantry in general, which would include himself than just being battle line. But that's just not going to happen anytime
Yeah.
soon.
So I'll do Trazan, my boy.
Yeah, now
Let's
we've
uh let's just dump him down there.
yeah, I have seen a
He
list with people playing Trazen, but
Yes, I was one of your friends that I tried. Was that the Lich Guard or was that a different
it
list?
was the Lich Guard. Yes,
Yeah.
it
So he
was.
had Trazan. Trazan. I mean, he's given the Lich Guard minus the one to wound, I guess. But
Hmm.
us getting sticky, it's just not something that we need. Like we don't need that.
No, we can spend 35 points for a single destroyer to hold our
Yeah.
objective most of the time.
It's just not necessary at all.
No. Okay. Doomstalker.
Yep.
Um,
I think he's there in
yeah,
that section.
I've seen people.
Probably above. I say he's like here because he's still better than them, but he's not good.
I could see him actually in an above a tier above because when you look at the tanks that we have, he is probably actually the second best unit in terms of shooting. But for the points, 145 for hitting on fours is.
Yeah, and is it going to be hitting on threes against stuff that you're like chaff is what your opponent's mostly going to be putting on an objective?
Maybe you could take one because then you got like a midfield threat for Overwatch. But without the rerolls, the Canoptic Core gives you
Yeah,
that
is it?
Overwatch threat just gets a lot worse. Oh look,
Yeah,
I've rolled two shots, and I've rolled no fives. Okay, great talk.
yeah. I think we should leave him
Yeah,
there.
leave
We'll
it
come
there.
back to him, but
Okay.
all right. Do let's do Imatech. Okay, so where does Imatech go? I don't think he's here. I
No.
think I think he's potentially in here because he
hmm
obviously does give CP. We are a CP hungry detachment, but he's not necessary.
He's.
Um,
I don't think he is. Having played an entire event without him, because if you asked me at the start, I would be like, right, Imhotep first thing first. We need all of our strats. We still want to cycle cards. We want 3 CP every battle round to play with, and I don't want to have to ditch cards to try and get that CP so I can have a big mid-turn push. But having played without him for the last 8 competitive games, I don't think we need him. I'd rather have
yeah.
100 points of something else and then just be more conservative with my CP. Because how many times have you popped -1 to wound and your unit dies anyway?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, and that will come with learning when to use the strat and learning when not to use the strat.
Yeah, I think he's a bit bait because all of our stratagems are one CP. We're not that desperate.
And you can get the same effect in a way by taking an overlord with a big blob of Lich
Hmm.
Guard that you shove out and then go, okay, well, I'll use my free strats on them now and then.
Yeah. So I chose him. So who would you like to choose?
Let's just do an easy one. We'll put some scarabs in there. I thought it was a good idea, but in reflection, I was wrong. They're still
Yeah.
cheap, but they're not good enough. Let's be honest. They don't. No OC is painful.
Yeah.
Getting +1 to hit on objectives is cute, but when they're still only hitting on fours,
Yeah. We're not.
it's
It's not the detachment for them. We're not
no,
running. We're not running cryptex really, except outside of technomancers. I could see maybe a single squad, but not really.
no, no.
I
Yeah.
will choose another Catan. Then I will go with the Transcendent,
Okay.
and I think he's the second worst one
Yeah.
in the detachment. I'm probably going to put him in. I own it
Yeah.
because he's still a Catan.
He
He's
has to be
still,
above Void Dragon, right?
yeah, we'll put him
Yeah.
there. He's
Yeah.
still a Catan. I'm going to put the Void Dragon down there.
hmm
I'll do it like this.
He's still chunky. He gives us some early game ability, but not being able to do actions after he teleports is a big downer for what we used to use him for back in index times. Um, with access to +1 to wound, he probably has the most attacks that can actually threaten things because sustain hits 1 on 8 attacks is nice, whereas the others have less in total. But +1 to wound will help him punch into tanks and monsters on fours. But other than that,
Yeah, he's just a bit more mobile, but not as strong.
yeah. But he does have deep strike. So
Hmm.
he could be like a start him in reserves rapid ingress threat. And out of all of our rapid ingress threats, he's probably the best one because he does have that deep strike, and we're not keeping him to a board edge. But um,
Hmm.
I haven't tried that one yet. I'll try it and we'll see, and maybe it changes. But for now, yeah, I don't think
Hmm.
he's too hot. Okay. Okay, let's just do another easy one, shall we? Doomsday Arc.
Okay.
I mean, I
World
own it. I
champ.
own it. Okay, I own it, right? Sure. No, okay, it's the
Oh
best.
yeah. I know.
It's
What were you
it's
thinking? Running a
why
DBA?
why are you taking them casino cannons? Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, what? And you roll a one? Yeah. Yeah. I'm
yeah.
still hitting with wound. I'm wounding with both, mate. So.
Not my experience, but yeah, that can happen. Yeah. So second best. benefactor of this detachment, probably.
They're just the damage that they have the longest range in the book. They do flat four, which is so important in the meta at the moment. And even into chaff, like D6 blast +1 is crazy good. And even the little shots just get work done. Moving 16 inches through a wall,
Yeah,
as I mentioned earlier, I can rapid ingress 16 inches away from an objective. Charles had to start using units to screen out the board edge towards his home field because I was just going to rapid ingress like at him in and just send him on his home. It's such a mobile unit with massive range and really really good damage with the rerolls.
yeah. Not
That's
much more
it.
to say, really.
Yeah,
If if if
he's just so good.
if we didn't have that unit, then we'd be in a world of trouble. Okay,
Yeah.
next.
All right. Flayed ones. People's champ.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Can't go
can't
wrong
leave
about them.
home.
No.
Yeah, can't leave home without at least one squad. Now I'm just going. I'm two. Like I have to have two.
I'm considering three, or a big
Yeah,
squad, or even a big squad of 10.
yeah,
Like they do punch up sometimes. Okay, sometimes they don't. They're a little underwhelming occasionally, and they die quite easily. But I can't
hmm
tell you the number of times my opponent has looked at the one flayed one I've stuck out in the centre and gone, okay, well I'll just kill that squad for overwhelming force, and they put not enough shots in because they've got stealth. A couple of them die, and then I just pull from, and then I can reanimate back onto the objective. And it's at least once every 2 or 3 games this happens.
yeah. That happened the other week, didn't it? On against Custodes,
Mm.
where he did that exact thing.
Yeah.
They infiltrate. They're 60 points at infiltrate, and when your opponent has never played against them before, and they charge into something that's below half strength, and then you're like, yeah, I'm hitting on twos with these 20 attacks, and every hit sustains. They're like,
Hmm.
what?
Yep.
Even with AP1, they
Yeah.
just shred.
And I'll pop +1 to wound, and I've got twin linked. So yeah, here's 30 saves for you to make AP1.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's so strong.
yeah. I wish they had some other mechanic in terms of battle shock. Like
Yeah,
maybe instead of it being below half strength, it's
like Reavers, like
yeah,
-1 OC or battle shock in combat.
yeah,
Something that'd be cool.
anything in engagement range must take a battle shock, and then if they're battle shock, they get the sustained hits instead of
Yeah,
if they're below half strength, because most things below half strength would get killed by their normal attacks anyway.
and they are
Um,
scary. They're wearing human flesh, so
yes. Okay, so let's do the Royal Warden next.
yeah, let's get into that.
Unfortunately, he got a 10 point nerf because I figured they looked at this detachment and went, we might have some cheap characters running around with a decent gun holding enhancements, so let's not make it the Royal Warden. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's down there. He's a lovely guy in terms of what he can do, but it just doesn't fit anywhere.
Yeah, he's not really it in this detachment.
If anything, he goes with the Warriors just so
Hmm
that if the transport dies and they get out, you can still contest an objective by
So it's
unbattle shocking
niche.
them. But that won't
Yeah.
come up as often as you think. But when it does, you'll feel amazing.
hmm
Okay,
I will pick the Silent King.
sure.
He
Isn't
is the people's champ.
he is the people's champ?
He
Yes.
is the greatest benefactor of our detachment. He is the best in this detachment.
Hmm.
He is obviously a choice between him or the command barge guy or both.
Yeah.
But as we said before on the last podcast, that more than half the people at Nottingham were taking him. He just does serious damage. He changes the matchups. It's complete play style dependent, if you like to play him or not. But I love him. I love the model. He's my favorite model for
It's
Necrons.
an awesome centerpiece model, and that's the best thing about 40k
Yeah,
as well.
it's like you can't run Thousand Suns without Magnus, and
Yeah.
you can't run Necrons without Silent King when
It-
you can.
yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. He, I don't see myself running a list without him unless I was specifically teching for a team's event where I wasn't looking at damage output, I was looking at other things.
Hmm
Okay. Death marks. We haven't
Yeah.
spoken about death marks much
No, not
and
at
their
all.
role. I think if it fits, it sits, to
Yeah,
be
yeah, I'd
honest.
say so.
At the bottom, because there's 65 points, still quite cheap. they have deep strikes, so turns 2 and turns 3, they can do some secondaries, and you're okay throwing them away. But other than that, I mean, they hit on twos if they don't move anyway. Stick them on
Hmm.
top of a building. That's quite funny, but
Yeah, they just do actions. They're just an action unit. They
maybe I'm.
screen sometimes.
I think I'm talking myself down. Actually, I think it's I own it. Okay,
Yeah, they're just an action unit, really.
yeah,
I'm probably like a bit above him, but probably above them.
I can see
Um,
myself taking them before I take Lichguard. Actually, if I've got 65 points and I want something with deep strike, that's what I'll take.
yeah,
Okay,
I'll put them just below the spider. So
Annihilation Badge.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think he does a similar role to the Stalker, but just worse. And his guns aren't that good.
Yeah,
I think
it,
it's either going to be in I Own It Okay or I Thought It Was Good.
I think I own it. Okay is okay. If you're wanting a toughness 8 4 up invul body in this detachment that's a vehicle, then you could, and you don't have a stalker, and you don't want to have to build a bloody ghost arc, then
Hmm.
then the annihilation badge is okay.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
105 points, so he is cheap.
he is cheap, but for the extra 5 points into the stalker, you get
Yeah,
you get you get more wounds, a little
better
bit.
save.
You get no, it's the same save. It's the
Is it
same
above
three
a
up
four
four.
up?
It's a 3 up
Is
4
it
up,
a
yeah.
four up? Okay.
But then you go 5 points more, then you get an extra toughness and you get extra wounds on the ghost arc. So um, out of the three of him, he is the least value for per point,
Mm-hmm.
probably offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
But he's, if you want a critical mass, then you might have to get a couple of him as well. Okay,
And so I'll pick the
he's got,
Deceiver.
yeah,
I think if he fits, he sits.
I think he's near the top of that. I would say above race personally.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay,
I'd say between Wraith and a Ghost Art maybe because you see a lot of people choosing the Wraith over him, but it's
hmm
still a big point commitment. But he is very good.
yeah, it's just shows you how much the other Kitans have got nerfed that we're now saying he is the best one.
Yeah, nobody ever took him before,
At
and
the start,
now,
yeah, start of Index, you're thinking, what are you doing taking him? He's terrible. But now he has access to +1 to wound.
yeah,
His
flat three
melee is
damage.
actually quite quite worthwhile
He's the most
taking.
durable Catan, so and the
Yeah,
highest OC.
highest OC, and he also gives you a cheeky regain deploy if you're
And we might
taking
as well,
flame ones.
yes, and we might as well do the Nightbringer as
I think
well.
he's literally the next spot below. I think
Yeah,
you know, if I wanted a Catan for damage, he's the number one.
yeah, and he punches so hard, even on
Yeah,
twos with -1 to hit now because sometimes that was a pain
yeah,
hitting on threes, and then wounding nearly everything in the game on twos.
and he can win on twos if he needs to, or with the CP strat.
That's what I mean. Sorry,
Yeah.
wounding nearly everything in the game on twos. So yeah, he's and his shooting isn't even that bad.
Well,
So he,
let's talk about his shooting. So my experience of his shooting is you roll a one for shot and miss, or you roll a 3 and you one shot a land raider. Like there's no in between. He does nothing or everything.
yeah, when you get that sweet 9 damage on that one shot that goes through, it's
Yeah,
so crazy.
yeah,
And then
exactly.
just the mortals at the end can change primary sometimes. It's
They're so inconsistently annoying though. Like there'll be 3 units that you're pointing at. You'll really want one of them just to take one mortal wound and flip an objective, but that'll be the one that he misses, and the other two take some random mortals that
yeah,
don't matter. But it's the threat of it's still there, and it still
hmm
gives you an out in case something else goes wrong.
yeah,
Okay, 4 units to
cheesy.
go. Let's talk about the Praetorians then.
Yeah,
The easiest one, I think. I own it. Okay, is fair.
yeah. They're not. They play the mission, but worse than other stuff. They trade, but worse than other stuff, and they're just
Uh,
less durable. It's,
100 points is just a little bit too much. If they were
yeah.
90 points like the Scorpex, they move 2 inches quicker. And I think on some of the UKTC boards that we play, that actually makes a bit of a difference,
Hmm.
especially on Search and Destroy when you want to threaten their flank objective. If they're on behind a wall and just holding it, then you can't really interact with Scorpex because they don't have the movement to get there and then charge. Whereas these guys do, and the bases are smaller. So that's like 3 or 4 inches help. And when they're on
Yeah.
objectives, One shot generally just makes the charge further, but they naturally reroll charges too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and they have deep strike, so they can rapid ingress. So,
Hmm.
you know,
So yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. So I'll pick the command barge, and I'm going to put him at the top of it fits at six. Actually, I think he could be a people's champ, but it's kind of it's a people's champ in the two different list designs. It's the
hmm.
Silent King or it's the barge. I
I
think
mean, sometimes it can be both. That's the thing.
yeah.
As
So I
we've
think he's a
seen,
people champ.
yeah, I can agree. One or the other is an auto take. And
Hmm.
then if you really find a list that actually benefits from having both, then I can fully understand it. And it also means you're allowed to use ignore mods with the Silent King and still have reroll aura up, which is, I mean, this is probably the best enhancement in the game, and he's not a bad carrier for it.
No, no,
Not
he's
bad.
still pretty durable. He buffs if you're with wraiths. He just gives them a bit of extra buff. Plus
Yeah.
one OC. You can use the resorb on the wraiths. Really, really nice.
Yeah. I mean, Resorb's really nice in theory, but you want to know how many times I've managed to use a Resorb with my Omnitics?
Yeah, wraiths obviously are more
None.
durable, so
None.
you can use it.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Which two? Which one of the two?
well, I love the Scorpec Destroyer. Sorry, the Hexmark Destroyer, so let's go with him.
You didn't love him enough in your list, though.
I didn't put him in my list because I wanted to score Peck Destroyers more because I thought
And
I
he's a
would need
people's
him.
champ.
I think he's still a people's champ. He's not as much a people's champ as he is in Hypercrypt, where he will be probably my number one pick. But in this, he's still got a good role. His Overwatch threat is nice.
The
He's
rapid
a good
ingress onto primary, which I'll never
and
stop going
he's
on about.
a good enough carrier of enhancements for his point still that yeah, I can see you taking.
Yes.
And
Yeah, yeah.
I would love to have had one in my list as well, but I don't know what to drop for that because 75 points is still quite a little bit.
One
I'm afraid.
Scorpeth Lord.
No, no, stick to my guns. I'm going to run two of those.
And we all know where this guy is going. He's a people's champ as well.
He's the people's champ with the Lord. Um,
Yeah.
he has to have the enhancement to make him worthwhile. The
Or
the
one of them. He's good with the -1 damage as well, I think, but it completely depends where your other enhancements are going. And if you're using the reroll enhancement and the fall and the -1 damage and the ignores cover, or if you depending if you want the fallback or not, it's a choice of
well,
who you want
if
to
you're
take.
taking him with Emnitics, then you have to have the ignores cover because it
Yeah.
makes the damage per point so much better
I just
than
think
without with him. Like with him without the ignores cover is the worst in terms of points efficiency. Second is just to bring them solo, and then they're far more efficient with the ignores cover.
yeah, I think you have to have the ignores cover on him, and I see a lot of people making the mistake of putting the -1 damage on the hex mark, but that means that you have to follow him, the Silent King or whoever around, and he can't deep strike anywhere, and that's like half of his purpose for me. And that's why I think the Scorp's really good for that role.
Although I would say if he's carrying the fallback enhancement, there are so many games where I actually want to start on the battlefield against melee pressure armies that might charge
Yeah,
something, like charge the screen and then just manage to tag the Amnitics. Like you don't want them falling back because obviously they can't shoot without in combat. So you need them on the table then rather than in the skies because obviously you can't come down turn one.
yeah, it's just complete personal choice. I think
So,
with like if he starts on the board or not.
so how do you feel about the tier list in the end? Is there anything you want to change? Anything you're not happy with?
I like it. I think it's really I think it pretty much explains itself. There's a lot of probably differing opinions because we have pretty much just said our list is in is in people's champ,
Yeah.
and then like anyone else that's played something slightly different, it's not as good. But I think results speak for themselves. I think it's really matchup dependent for a lot of stuff. But the stuff we put at the top, you're going to be seeing it in nearly every list. Like maybe the Scorpeths and the Scorpeth Lord could go down to it fits it sits because not everybody's running them, but we do need the melee, so it's like a choice between Ophidians and Scorpeths. But us two personally, because it's our tier list, have said that we don't really think that Ophidians are
Yeah,
doing that, are doing it for us, and Scorpus have proved themselves in our competitive games to do what we want them to do.
yeah. In terms of the things that they can punch as well,
Hmm.
at least Scorpex will be wounding tanks on fives without any kind of buffs, whereas the
Yeah,
Ophidians are winning a lot of things on sixes.
yeah, and and Scorpus are in they're in Gravis armor, so it's they're not hard, they're not easy to kill. Like toughness 6,
Mm.
most things are winning them on fives, and Chaos Knight in the Chaos
Yeah,
Knights games, they shot all of their indirects for the like nearly most as soon as the Flayed ones are dead, all of their indirects into the score path for the whole game, and I didn't lose a single score path
yeah,
because they maybe kill one, and I just realized.
and against the Orcs match, for example, when they weren't on the War, toughness sixes are a terrible breakpoint for them. They were genuinely struggling to kill the single destroyers. They were just sat there. I'd take a couple of wounds. I'd reanimate a couple of wounds, and they would hit back with AP0 and actually kill a model. So they were very frustrating to try and finish off when you look at them compared
Hmm.
to the Ophidians. The Ophidians would have just died because we're save lower toughness. So yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
if you don't
think
if you don't like us putting Ophidian so low and don't agree with us putting Scorpex so high, feel free to tell us how wrong we are in the comments.
yeah,
We'll
just
we'll,
let us
we'll
know
enjoy
your
reading those,
opinions.
and if we've we might be wrong. We'll see.
Yeah,
At some
yeah,
point,
yeah.
someone's going to come up with the best Starshatter list. It'll be a while yet before we find the right one, but
Hmm.
someone's going to do it. I don't think it's going to have Ophidians in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously we've been running for an hour and a half. This is our longest one so far. But I think we covered everything we want to cover, and we'll probably come back next week or a couple of weeks or whatever, because we're both going to be practicing for the ITT coming up in February, I imagine.
Yeah.
So after list submission, there we'll probably chat about what we've decided to take there, and I think that's probably what we're going to talk
I mean,
about
there
from
is a
there.
big event happening next weekend in LVO, so I think
Oh,
we'll
of
be,
course,
I think
yes,
we'll be, I think we'll be covering that to some degree, looking at the results, who placed well
yes,
with the Necrons, and
yeah.
and
We can have a look at
see
lists.
what innovation there has been from this weekend's lists, because
Hmm.
obviously list submission was today, which was Monday. Um, so there has been a day for them to have a look and adjust based on what they see going on elsewhere. So we'll have a look at that. Maybe we'll have another surprise tier list for you, another detachment. We'll get
Yeah.
one of maybe we'll get one of the rubbish ones out of the way. Annihilation Legion, just everything in the F tier. Like, what are you even doing?
Not Scorpus though.
just no, not Scorpex. They can be in the top one, but
Scorpus can be an A, and then everything else.
yeah, what are you even doing? Just what are you doing playing this detachment? Come on, guys.
But
Like, yeah, you're playing.
yeah.
Obviously, it's a meme, but
Hmm. So yeah, we'll do one either before or after LVO. Probably after, I imagine. But
no, definitely
uh,
after.
yeah, and yeah. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, bye.